before you rush into another day. Before you open your phone, before the noise of the world tells you who to be, pause. Just pause, because there is something you need to understand before you take another step. Your life is not changed only by the big decisions you make. Sometimes your life is changed by what you do in the first 5 minutes of your morning, the first thought, the first word, the first choice, the first voice you listen to. Because before the world gets access to your attention, you have a choice. You can give the world your mind, or you can give yourself a moment to remember who you are. And I'm not talking about motivation. Motivation comes and goes. I'm talking about alignment. I'm talking about becoming so grounded in who you are that the chaos around you doesn't get to decide who you become. Listen to me. The world is going to have something to say about you. People are going to have opinions. Some will believe in you. Some won't. Some will celebrate you. Some will criticize you. Some will misunderstand you. And some people will try to convince you that you should become smaller simply because your growth makes them uncomfortable. But before you listen to any of them, you need to learn how to listen to yourself. Because the first voice you listen to becomes the lens through which you experience everything that follows. Most people wake up and immediately give their attention away. Phone notification, social media news, problems, yesterday, tomorrow. Everybody gets access to their mind before they do, and then they wonder why they feel overwhelmed. They wonder why they feel behind. They wonder why they feel anxious before the day has even started. You woke up and immediately started fighting a battle that wasn't even yours. But imagine waking up differently. Imagine opening your eye and not immediately asking, what does the world need from me? Instead, ask, what do I need from myself today? That's a different question. That's a powerful question because it brings you back into authorship. It reminds you that your life isn't just something happening to you. You are participating in it. You have a voice, you have a choice, you have another opportunity. So before the world defines you, define yourself. Tell yourself, I am here. I am awake. I have another day. I don't need to have everything figured out. I just need to take the next right step. That's enough. You don't need a perfect morning. You don't need a perfect routine. You don't need a perfect life. You need presence, because presence is where power begins. Think about an instrument before a performance. It doesn't matter how talented the musician is. If the instrument is out of tune, the entire performance suffers. Your inner voice is the tuning. If you begin the day with panic, everything feels urgent. If you begin with comparison, everything feels like competition. If you begin with self-criticism, every mistake feels like proof that you're not enough. But if you begin with grounding, if you begin with intention, if you begin with self-respect, then even when the day gets difficult, you have something inside you to return to. That's the first lesson. Your circumstances don't have to change before you change your relationship with them. Life may not slow down, but you can stop being dragged by it. And that is where transformation begins. Now let's talk about something people misunderstand all the time. Discipline. People hear the word discipline and think punishment, pressure, restriction. No, don't work harder, do more. But real discipline is not punishment. Discipline is devotion. Discipline is self-respect in action. It is saying, I care about the person I'm becoming too much to keep betraying them. That's what discipline is. It's not about becoming a machine. It's not about being perfect. It's about becoming someone who can trust themselves. Think about every promise you've ever made to yourself. I'll start tomorrow. I'll study later. I'll stop wasting time. I'll wake up early. I'll work on my goal. I'll take care of myself. Every time you make a promise and repeatedly break it, something inside you notices. You may not notice it immediately, but your mind notices. Your confidence notices. Your identity notices. And eventually you stop trusting your own words. You say you're going to do something, but a part of you already knows you probably won't. That's not a talent problem. That's a self-trust problem. And discipline repairs it, not overnight, one promise at a time, one day at a time, one decision at a time. You don't need to transform your entire life tonight. Pick one thing, one promise, one habit, and keep it. Because one promise honored every day can change the way you see yourself. You begin to say, I said I would, and I did. Then you say it again and again and again. Suddenly, confidence isn't something you have to pretend to have. It's something you've earned from yourself. That's real confidence, not loudness, not showing off, not convincing everybody else. Real confidence is quiet. It says, I know I can depend on myself, and listen carefully. Discipline doesn't mean you never get tired. You will get tired. You will have bad days. You will lose focus. You will make mistakes. You will have moments where you don't feel like doing anything. That's normal. The difference is that disciplined people don't treat a bad day like a permanent identity. They adjust, they return, they continue. They don't say, I failed, so I'm finished. They say, I slipped. Now I'm getting back up. That's resilience. That's maturity. That's strength. You don't need to feel motivated every day. You need to become committed, because motivation asks, do I feel like doing it? Commitment asks, does it still matter? And if it matters, move even slowly, even imperfectly. Move. Now there's another battle you have to fight. And this one is dangerous because you can fight it every day without even realizing you're fighting the battle for validation, the constant need to be approved, to be liked, to be accepted, to be praised, to be seen. From a young age, many people learn to measure themselves through other people's reactions. If people clap, I must be doing well. If people criticize me, maybe I'm failing. If people like me, I must be valuable. If they don't, maybe something is wrong with me. But listen, you cannot build a stable identity on unstable opinions. You can't, because people change, opinions change, trends change, rums change, crowds change. Today they may celebrate you. Tomorrow they may criticize you. If your worth rises and falls with their opinions, you will spend your entire life emotionally exhausted, always checking, always wondering. Did they like it? What did they think? Why didn't they respond? Why did they choose somebody else? Why aren't they proud of me? And slowly, you stop living. You start performing. You become a version of yourself designed for approval. You say what gets applause. You hide what might get criticized. You choose what looks good instead of what feels right. You delay your dreams because you're afraid somebody might laugh. But you have to understand something. Your life is too valuable to spend auditioning for people who aren't living your life. Let them misunderstand you. Let them doubt you. Let them have their opinion. You can listen without obeying. You can receive feedback without surrendering your identity. You can accept criticism without making it your definition. That's emotional strength. And it doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop giving everyone authority over your self-worth. Ask yourself a better question. Don't ask, do they approve of me? Ask, am I living according to my values? Don't ask, do they think I'm successful? Ask, am I becoming the person I said I wanted to become? That's the question, because you don't need everybody to understand the journey. You need to understand the journey. And here's where things get uncomfortable, because sometimes the person standing between you and the life you want is you, not because you're weak, not because you're incapable, but because you become comfortable with what is familiar. And familiar doesn't always mean good. Sometimes familiar means safe, and safe can become a prison. You know the routine, you know the excuses, you know the reasons why you can't. I don't have enough time. I'm not ready. What if I fail? What will people say? What if I'm not good enough? But here's the truth. You will never feel completely ready for everything that matters. You won't. The first step is rarely taken with certainty. It's taken with courage. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. Courage means fear doesn't get the final vote. You can be afraid and still begin. You can be uncertain and still move. You can doubt yourself and still take the next step. That's what courage looks like in real life, not a movie scene, not a dramatic moment. Sometimes courage looks like sitting at your desk when you don't feel like studying. Sometimes courage looks like starting again after you've disappointed yourself. Sometimes courage looks like saying no to something that keeps pulling you away from your goals. Sometimes courage is simply refusing to quit on yourself. And you need to hear this. You are allowed to begin badly. You are allowed to be a beginner. You are allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed to learn. You are allowed to grow slowly. Stop demanding perfection from a version of yourself that is still learning. You don't need to be extraordinary today. You need to be consistent, because extraordinary results are usually built through ordinary actions, repeated longer than most people are willing to repeat them. That's the secret. People see the result. They don't see the repetition. They see the confidence. They don't see the years of uncertainty. They see the achievement. They don't see the mornings when nobody was watching. They see the finished product. They don't see the unfinished person who kept going. So don't compare your beginning to somebody else's chapter 20. You don't know their journey. You don't know their sacrifices. You don't know their failures. And most importantly, their journey isn't yours. Your job is not to outrun everybody. Your job is to become more faithful to your own potential. Now let's talk about discomfort, because everybody wants growth, but very few people want the discomfort that comes with growth. They want the result. They don't want the process. They want confidence. They don't want the uncomfortable conversations. They want success. They don't want the repetition. They want strength. They don't want to be tested. But growth has a price. And the price is discomfort, not suffering for the sake of suffering, not destroying yourself, but becoming willing to be uncomfortable while doing something meaningful. Because comfort asks you to stay the same. Growth asks you to change, and change feels unfamiliar. That's why your mind often tries to pull you backward. It says, stay where you are. I try tomorrow. You've done enough. Maybe this isn't for you. Sometimes that voice sounds reasonable. That's what makes it dangerous. You have to learn the difference between wisdom and avoidance. Rest when you need rest, but don't confuse rest with quitting. Take a break when you're exhausted, but don't turn one difficult day into a permanent decision about your future. Be compassionate with yourself, but don't use compassion as an excuse to abandon yourself. There is a difference. Real self-respect says, I will take care of myself. And sometimes taking care of yourself means continuing the work you know matters. Now, here's something even deeper. Purpose. People think purpose is something you suddenly discover. Like one day you wake up and everything becomes clear. But life usually doesn't work that way. Purpose is often revealed through movement. You don't always think your way into purpose. Sometimes you walk your way into it. You try, you learn, you fail, you discover what matters, you discover what doesn't. You meet people, you experience things, you develop skills, and slowly the picture becomes clearer. So if you're confused about your future, don't panic. You don't have to know everything today. You need direction, not certainty. Right. Take the next step, then another, then another. Your path becomes clearer while you're walking it. Think about a road at night. You don't need headlights that show you the entire highway. You only need enough light to see the next section. That's how life works. You don't need to see 10 years from now. You need to see the next right step and take it. Then the next one, then the next one. That's how a life is built. And now we come to something that separates people who grow from people who remain stuck. Your relationship with failure. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of the process. You can win today and fail tomorrow. You can fail today and win tomorrow. One moment does not define an entire life. One exam doesn't define your intelligence. One mistake doesn't define your character. One rejection doesn't define your future. One bad decision doesn't mean every future decision will be bad. Stop turning moments into identities. You failed at something. That does not mean you are a failure. You made a mistake. That does not mean you are a mistake. You lost an opportunity. That does not mean opportunity is over. Learn the difference, because language shapes identity. If you keep telling yourself, I'm lazy, I'm weak, I'm behind, I'm not capable, I'm just like this, eventually your mind starts treating those statements like facts. Instead, say, I'm learning discipline, I'm becoming stronger, I'm still developing, I'm not where I want to be yet. That word matters. Yet. I'm not there. Yet. I don't understand it yet. I haven't achieved it. Yet leaves the door open. Yet says the story is still being written, and your story is still being written. There will be people who don't believe in you. That's okay. There will be moments when you don't believe in yourself. That's human. But you cannot make a temporary feeling a permanent decision. Feelings change. Your direction can remain. You may wake up one morning and feel like giving up. Don't make a lifetime decision from one morning's emotion. Breathe, step back, remember why you started, then decide what the next right thing is, not the entire future. The next thing, because overwhelm often comes from trying to carry tomorrow, next year, 5 years from now, and today all at once. You can't put tomorrow down, come back to today. Today is enough. What can you do today? What can you learn today? Who can you encourage today? What promise can you keep today? What distraction can you remove today? What small step can you take today? That's where your power lives. Not in yesterday, not in tomorrow, today. And if you remember nothing else from this message, remember this: protect your attention. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you own. What you repeatedly watch, what you repeatedly hear, what you repeatedly think about, what you repeatedly consume, big in shaping you. So be careful what you allow to become the soundtrack of your mind. If you spend every morning comparing yourself, don't be surprised when you feel inadequate. If you spend every day consuming negativity, don't be surprised when your mind expects the worst. If you constantly listen to voices telling you that you're behind, don't be surprised when you feel rushed. Guard your mind, not because you're afraid of the world, because you're responsible for what you build inside yourself. You don't have to disconnect from everything. You just need to become intentional. Before you consume the world, create something inside yourself. Before you hear everybody else's opinion, hear your own values. Before you react, pause. Before you answer, breathe. Before you quit, remember why you began. That pause can change everything. And tomorrow morning, when your eyes open, don't reach for the world immediately. Give yourself 5 minutes. 5 minutes, no perfection, no complicated routine, just 5 minutes of presence. Sit up, breathe, think, pray if that's meaningful to you. Write one sentence. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? Not what do I want to get today? Who do I want to be? Patient, focused, disciplined, kind, courageous, present. Then live accordingly, because your identity is not created by what you say once. It's created by what you repeatedly do. Every morning is another vote for the person you're becoming. Every choice is a vote. Every habit is a vote. Every time you keep a promise, you vote for self-trust. Every time you choose courage over avoidance, you vote for courage. Every time you choose discipline over temporary comfort, you vote for the future. And eventually, those votes become identity. So don't wait for your life to become perfect before you begin living intentionally. It won't. There will always be something, another problem, another responsibility, another difficult day, another uncertainty. But peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is learning how to meet problems without losing yourself. That's strength. That's alignment. That's maturity. And maybe your biggest goal right now isn't to become more impressive. Maybe it's to become more honest, more consistent, more grounded, more present, more trustworthy to yourself. Because when you become that person, achievement becomes a byproduct. You don't have to chase validation as desperately. You don't have to prove yourself every 5 minutes. You don't have to convince everybody. You know who you are. You know what you're building. You know why you're moving. And that's powerful. There will come a day when you look back at the version of yourself who was afraid to begin. And you'll realize something. You didn't need more time. You needed more courage. You didn't need everybody's approval. You needed your own commitment. You didn't need the perfect plan. You needed the next step. You didn't need to become somebody else. You needed to become more fully yourself. And that's what this journey is about. Not becoming perfect, becoming conscious, not becoming fearless, becoming courageous, not becoming endlessly productive, becoming purposeful, not becoming someone everybody approves of, becoming someone you respect. So when the world gets loud, come back to yourself. When fear gets loud, come back to your values. When doubt gets loud, come back to your evidence. Remember what you've already survived. Remember what you've already learned. Remember every time you thought you couldn't keep going, and somehow you did. You're still here. That matters. And if you're still here, the story isn't finished, not even close. So tomorrow morning, before the phone, before the notifications, before the expectations pause, take one breath then another and tell yourself, I am here. I am awake. I don't need to have everything figured out. I will take the next step. I will keep my promises to myself. I will not let S.